Welcome to the Roots of American Music Trail. The music born in the cotton fields and riverbanks and makeshift recording studios of northwest Alabama has shaped our nation for decades. Come discover the stories behind these songs.
I love being here because there's really no label or a stamp on what we do. We have total creative freedom to be a pop act one day, or a pop writer, producer one day, or a country, or a reggae, or Americana. It doesn't matter. Whatever we want to be, I just feel more free to do that here.
And you can create what you want to create. You don't have to be somebody else. You don't have to be Nashville. You don't have to be Memphis. You don't have to be Atlanta. You can be yourself in Muscle Shoals.
Can't exactly put a finger on it, but there's definitely a churchiness and a bluesiness, a soulfulness.
Each musician playing the instrument, we all had our own unique sound.
But there was some intangible, it was some place in the pocket that all of those things I just mentioned to you have an amazing feel. The song breathes, you hear the song, you hear the artist.
The feeling here, you know, is with the musicians that play here, you know, they're steeped in that vibe.
Why Muscle Shoals? How did this Alabama town become the recording capital of the world?
We played a couple of sock hops, they call them those days. Some kids in my neighborhood, David Briggs, one of them, okay? And we're putting together a band to play the Sun Records catalog, which was Elvis, Carl Perkins, Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis, Charlie Rich.
Well, as far as the Muscle Shoals sound evolving, everybody always laughs when I say it, but I think it was a matter of we had nothing else to do, you know. We all kind of played in bands if you were musicians and got into recording accidentally.
I played at the Tuscumbia Armory square dance. Half the night was square dance music and half the night on Saturday nights was rock and roll. And so I made $10.
In 1956, local songwriters James Joyner and Kelso Hurston founded Tune Records and Publishing in Florence. This was the first record company in Alabama. Bobby Denton, a teenage singer from Cherokee, recorded Joyner's song, A Fallen Star, for Tune's first single. Soon, other musicians wanted to record at Joyner's bus station, an unusual location for a studio.
And when the buses came in to unload, maybe from Nashville, Atlanta, somewhere, we had to quit. If we were in the middle of a song, we had to quit.
When Joyner sold his share to Stafford so he could focus on Tune Records, Stafford quickly found new partners in musicians and songwriters, Rick Hall and Billy Sherrill.
When I moved to that studio over there in Muscle Shoals, and I cut one record there, that was You Better Move On, Arthur Alexander. It was a bellhop down at the, I believe it was the Sheffield Hotel. Then I made enough money there and with my songwriting that I decided to build the original studio here, which was not like it is now. It was 20 foot wide and 70 foot long and made out of cinder blocks, and so later on we built onto this twice. But we cut the first hit record there on the old Wilson Dam Highway, which is tore down now. I had 3 or 4 hit records out of this little town called Muscle Shoals, Alabama, with 5,000 people. And so they came here to find where do you go to get this? And I became the guy. We brought in the best musicians, started coming in from all over the country, from Florida and from South Alabama and Georgia and Tennessee and so forth. And we had great musicians, and then songwriters started drifting in, and they started writing better songs, and so, gosh, then the doors opened up and people started banging on the doors and saying, look, we want to cut here.
While some considered Muscle Shoals an unlikely spot for a musical revolution, All the ingredients were here, especially talented studio musicians who could play any kind of music.
Well, it's easy to understand that in a city the size of Memphis, Detroit, Philadelphia, New Orleans, that you could find 5 or 6 great musicians who could make records. But in Muscle Shoals, this tiny little area of 30,000 people, the fact that we were able to find 5 or 6 good musicians who could make records was probably a miracle.
Somebody asked Ron Howard once what he thought about child acting. He said, well, I thought everybody was. That's sort of the way I grew up, thinking everybody had a band in their house, you know.
Out of this talent came the Muscle Shoals rhythm section. Leon Russell dubbed these backup players the Swampers, and Leonard Skinner immortalized them in Sweet Home Alabama. While famous singers who recorded here had hundreds of hits, it was the studio musicians who made those hits possible.
Instead of going to New York, LA, Nashville, London, wherever, they came to us.
Just all of the artists that was like that, you know, that would come in to Fame Studio to record, we would back them up.
The most important ingredient is the drummer. All the other people are very important, but still, the drummer was the person that put us on the map for the world.
But there was something about that back porch beat where the snare drum is almost late.
Now Muscle Shoals has got the Swampers, and they've been known to pick a song too.
Who recorded in Muscle Shoals? Everybody who was anybody in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s music scene. Today, new studios and new artists continue the tradition. Hits still being written and recorded, and new singers from Muscle Shoals are gaining fame on the national and world stage.
We really, I don't think, understood the depth of Muscle Shoals until we left here to tour. And especially when we would travel over to Europe and the UK, the reaction that people have when you tell them that you are from Muscle Shoals is unlike any other.
As far as the artist goes, the songs that were recorded in Muscle Shoals, to me, are like the best. You know, it's there is just something about it.
Muscle Shoals embraces its music and celebrates it year-round. Thousands attend the annual W.C. Handy Music Festival, a 10-day tribute to the region's musical heritage and father of the blues, Florence native W.C. Handy. Musical performances, concerts, festivals, and impromptu gatherings delight listeners from stages to street corners. Explore and experience what the History Channel calls the South Heard Round the World on Roots of American Music Trail. Use the website to plan your trip starting on the beautiful Natchez Trace Parkway. Stop to enjoy the sights and events that tell the story of the music that Muscle Shoals gave and still gives the world.
There's nothing going on in Muscle Shoals as hadn't gone on before, and that's being excited about music with people out of here. I'm just an old man, soon be 73, but I can still write songs just as good.
The next generation is definitely alive and well, and I haven't mentioned 90% of the music going on in their generation.
This town in particular brings out the talent in each individual person, whereas, and then when you get all those talents in one area, it just kind of happens, magic happens.
I've been back here for nearly 20 years now from San Francisco, and for the first time, I am feeling that thing again, that something is happening again.